There is someone you have not spoken to in months, maybe years, and they are still there, surfacing in the quiet, arriving without invitation, pulling your attention toward them the moment your mind slows down. You replay conversations that ended long ago. You catch yourself wondering what they are doing now, how they are, whether they ever think of you. You have told yourself it is time to move on. You have done the journaling, the distance, the deliberate effort. You have given it time, and still the loop returns. This is not weakness. This is not obsession, and it is not proof that something is broken in the way you process or heal. What you are experiencing is not a psychological failure. It is a live transmission. There is an energetic cord still running between your field and theirs. Not a metaphor, not simply a poetic frame for missing someone. An actual attachment structure built from shared emotional activation, unresolved relational charge, and energetic imprinting that did not dissolve when the relationship ended or the contact stopped. That cord is still open, it is still transmitting, and your mind, which is not separate from your field but embedded inside it, is receiving that signal every time it pulses. The loop you cannot stop is not originating inside you, it is arriving through you. This is Arcturian protection frequency, and this transmission is here for exactly what that distinction means and what it takes to formally close what has been left open. The Arcturian Council does not issue protection transmissions without cause, and this one was not assembled for a general audience or a comfortable moment. It was prepared for a specific threshold, one that a significant number of sensitive, star seed identified individuals are standing at right now, often without knowing why the loop has returned or why it has intensified with such unusual precision. We are in a period of accelerated relational clearing. The collective field is contracting and reorganizing, and with that reorganization comes sustained pressure on every unresolved attachment structure still running inside individual fields. Cords that have been dormant are reactivating. Mental loops that seemed to have quieted are surging back with a force that does not match where the person consciously believes they are in their process. If you are experiencing this, if someone you believed you had released is suddenly present in your awareness again with a frequency or charge that does not match where you are now, that is not coincidence. That is field pressure revealing an attachment point that was never formally closed. For highly sensitive individuals, for those whose empathic field architecture gives them a depth of relational attunement that most people around them do not share, this pressure lands differently. Your field is designed for genuine resonance, for deep connection, for processing relational experience at multiple layers simultaneously. That design is not a liability. It is precisely what makes you who you are. But it also means that unresolved cord attachments are more costly for you than for someone whose field is less naturally permeable. When a cord is still active in your field, the energetic output required to sustain that transmission loop, even without your conscious awareness, is continuous. It drains your attention bandwidth. It redirects your field's resources away from your own coherence and toward a connection that has already completed its conscious chapter. Today's transmission addresses this directly. The topic is cord attachment as an active field condition, the specific mechanism by which someone no longer physically present in your life continues to occupy energetic space in your nervous system, your attention, and your auric architecture. The Arcturian guidance here is not about whether the relationship mattered, or whether your feelings are valid. It is about whether the field structure built during that relationship has been formally closed, and what it costs when it has not been. The first symptom is involuntary recall, not the kind of remembering you choose, the kind that arrives without permission and without apparent cause. You are in the middle of something ordinary and they are suddenly there, fully formed, as if no time has passed at all. A particular tone of voice, a single moment, a version of a conversation you have replayed so many times it has worn grooves into your attention. This kind of recall does not arise from grief alone. It is a field signal. The cord is pulsing, and your nervous system is reporting the transmission as if it were happening now. The second is emotional bleed. You feel something, a wave of longing, a flare of old frustration, a quiet and unexplained sadness. And when you trace it back, it leads to them, not precisely to a memory, to a state, a feeling of being reabsorbed into the energetic texture of that connection, even though nothing external has triggered it. This is not unprocessed emotion sitting in your body waiting for release. It is received signal. Your field is picking up what is still moving through the cord. The third is a disruption in present moment presence. Your attention is frequently elsewhere. Being fully here feels harder than it should be. Conversations arrive at a slight distance. Your own thoughts feel a beat slower than your body. This diffuse, scattered quality, as if part of you is perpetually redirected toward somewhere that is not now, is one of the clearest signs of active cord drain. What belongs to you is being rerouted, continuously and without your conscious consent, toward a field that is not yours. The fourth is shame. The private, quiet shame of still thinking about this person when you believe you should be long finished. The story you tell yourself, that this means you are weak, not yet healed, still too attached, is not accurate, and this transmission needs to name that clearly. The shame is the cost of misidentifying what is actually happening. You're not failing to release. You're receiving ongoing signal from an attachment structure that your existing healing and processing work was not designed to reach. Not because those practices were insufficient, but because cord architecture exists at a field depth that requires specific direct attention to formally close. That is a different problem from not trying hard enough. These four patterns are not separate issues. They are one condition read from four angles. The cord is still active. The transmission is still running. And the most important shift this transmission asks of you right now is not to try harder, to stop thinking about this person. It is to stop framing what is happening as personal failure and begin recognizing it as a field condition with a specific, addressable solution. If that recognition just landed somewhere real in you, if you felt something release in your chest or your throat at being accurately seen, type 520 in the comments right now. In the frequency work of this transmission, 520 is the code for soul-level relational safety and karmic cord loop recognition. It signals that your field has identified the pattern. That identification is the first moment of the closing sequence. Here is what is actually happening inside your field. The heart generates a measurable electromagnetic field that extends well beyond the physical body. Research in bioelectromagnetics has confirmed this. The heart's field reaches outward and interacts dynamically with the fields of people in close proximity, and that interaction is not one-directional. During a significant relational bond, two fields entrain. They begin resonating in patterns shaped by shared emotional activation, repeated presence, and the particular charge of whatever dynamics between them remain unresolved. This is not simply emotional memory stored in the mind. It creates a structural link in the bioelectric architecture of both fields, a link that carries a frequency specific to that relational pairing, one that persists independently of whether the relationship continues. When that relationship ends through rupture, distance, sustained silence, or an ambiguous closure that left charge unaddressed, the conscious experience changes. Contact stops. The narrative moves on, but the structural link does not automatically dissolve because the relationship does. Unless it is specifically and deliberately addressed at the field level, it persists. It continues transmitting. And the signal it carries is not nostalgia in the ordinary psychological sense. It is the live frequency of a relational field state that was never formally closed. Your amygdala is involved in this more than most protection frameworks acknowledge. The amygdala's primary function is threat detection and survival pattern storage, and it doesn't distinguish between a physical threat and a relational rupture that arrived without resolution. An ending that came with ambiguity, with unexplained silence, or with unspoken charge is registered in the amygdala as an incomplete discharge event. The autonomic nervous system, which initiates a full stress activation sequence and then waits for a resolution signal before returning to baseline, never received that signal. The loop running in your mind is, in part, the nervous system continuing to scan for a closure the body was never given. The intrusive thoughts are not evidence of dysfunction. They are the sympathetic activation sequence still waiting for its natural endpoint. The Arcturian framework adds the layer that sits beneath this neurological activity and, in the Council's understanding, generates it. The cord attachment lives in the emotional body, the third subtle layer of the auric field, the layer primarily responsible for relational imprinting and energetic exchange between fields. When a significant bond forms, a cord anchors at the solar plexus, the center of personal sovereignty and energetic will. If the relationship carried unresolved power dynamics, patterns of overgiving, or chronic emotional attunement to the other person at the cost of one's own field integrity, patterns that run with particular frequency in empathic and starseed identified individuals. The cord does not close cleanly when contact ends. It anchors with a bleed structure. It continues drawing from your field's resources, redirecting that draw toward the absent person's frequency signature, sustaining a connection your conscious life has already moved beyond. What you experience as an intrusive mental loop is your sovereign field signaling that there is an open structure here, one that is costing you coherence, costing you attention, and costing you the full return to yourself. This is the layer of work addressed in the Auric Field Repair Guide and the 21-day Arcturian Field Repair Journey. The guide includes a dedicated cord-cutting and emotional bleed protocol that works specifically at the emotional body level, where relational attachment structures remain active long after conscious contact has ended. It gives you the map, the paced sequence, and the daily repair practice to close what has been left open. The link is in the description and pinned in the first comment. Purchasing it supports this channel and helps these transmissions continue. If what began here today is the starting point you have been waiting for, the guide is the structure that takes it the full distance. What the transmission will do now is locate the active cord attachment, disrupt the signal running through it, and begin the closure sequence. Not through force, not through the kind of letting go that demands you stop caring. Through precision, through identifying the attachment point and returning your field's resources to your own architecture, where they were always meant to stay. The cord does not need to be broken violently. It needs to be seen clearly, addressed directly, and allowed to close. Find a position where your spine can be reasonably upright and your body does not need to work to hold itself. If lying down serves you better, do that. What matters is that you can be present without physical effort pulling at your attention. Begin with your breath. Not a technique, simply the breath you are already taking, felt more fully than usual. The inhale, the small pause, the exhale. Let 2 or 3 of those complete before you move your awareness anywhere else. Now bring your attention to the center of your chest, not to a thought about your heart, to the physical location of it, the warmth there, the quiet rhythm of it moving without being asked. Let that be your anchor. From your chest, let your awareness descend slowly to the space just below your sternum, the soft hollow of the solar plexus. This is the primary anchor point of the cord inside your field, the place where the emotional body interfaces with personal sovereignty and energetic will. You may already feel something here. A low-grade pressure, a quality of incompleteness without a precise address, a subtle pull in a direction that is not quite your own. You are not creating it by noticing it. You are making contact with what has already been there. Allow yourself to become quietly aware of the transmission running through this point. Not the person, the structure between your field and theirs. The line of signal that has continued without your consent. Do not analyze it. Do not narrate it. Simply let your awareness land on its presence. Breathe into that space now. Direct your exhale slowly downward, from the solar plexus, through the belly, through the base of the spine, through both legs and into the ground beneath you. This is an instruction to your nervous system. The loop can close. The resolution it has been scanning for is arriving now, not through the other person, not through an explanation you were never given, but through your own field's deliberate attention to this moment. This is the completion the body was waiting for. On your next exhale, set the quiet, clear intention to begin withdrawing your field's energy from the cord. Not to erase what the relationship was, not to deny that it had weight and meaning, but to stop feeding the transmission, to call back the attention, the emotional body's resources, the sovereign bandwidth that has been running outward through a structure that no longer needs to remain open. Let that return be slow and steady, a gathering back rather than a sudden recollection. As you breathe, allow the boundary of your emotional body to become slightly more defined. The distinction between what is yours and what arrived from outside growing clearer with each breath. If you are holding a piece of black tourmaline, let its weight support the grounding aspect of this. The returning of your presence to this body, this moment, this field. Bring your awareness back to the solar plexus once more. Notice whether the quality there has shifted even slightly. A small softening, a degree less of pull. The cord does not fully release in a single session. What you have begun is a closing sequence with your field's full conscious participation. Trust that the field registers the intention. Trust that what was started here continues working as you move through the hours ahead. Let your attention rise back through the center of your chest, through your shoulders and the back of your neck. Let your breath return to its own pace without management. Feel the weight of your body, the contact between it, and whatever surface is beneath it. This field surrounding you is yours. What is present in it now belongs to you. Let the other person's frequency become something more distant, not gone yet, perhaps, but less insistent, less immediate. The signal has been disrupted. The closing has begun. You are more returned to yourself than you were when this transmission started. What you moved through here is real energetic work. It required your nervous system, your emotional body, and your conscious attention to cooperate at the same time. And that cooperation is not without cost. Whatever you feel now, a quality of release, a kind of tiredness, a subtle spaciousness, or simply a slight reduction in the loop's intensity, is the field beginning its consolidation. Let that be enough for this moment. It is. The 72 hours following this practice are integration time. The field continues processing what was initiated here, and your role in that window is to support the work rather than test it. Do not spend the next 3 days examining whether the mental loop has stopped. Constant monitoring interrupts the processing. If this person surfaces in your thoughts during integration, do not read that as failure. Read it as the field continuing to move the closing sequence through. The transmission is still working in the background of everything you do. Stay grounded in your body and your immediate environment. Time outside, slow meals, deliberate movement. These are field instructions, not optional additions to your day. The more present your body remains in this integration window, the more effectively the emotional body can complete its clearing. And if you notice any spaciousness appearing in your attention, a slightly longer gap between the loop's appearances, a reduced charge around this person's frequency, trust that signal. That is the cord losing its hold. That is your coherence returning home. Now bring these forward with you. My field is sovereign. What passes through it does not own it. I am not required to sustain connections that have already completed. What was redirected toward what is not mine returns to me now, fully, without apology. I am not defined by what I felt in that relationship. I am defined by the coherence I am returning to. The loop closes not because I stop caring, but because the structure no longer needs to remain open. My field recognizes itself. My field holds what is mine and releases what is not. Let those settle where they are most needed, and carry the quality of that returning into the rest of your day. Something has shifted in your field from this transmission. It may not yet be the complete closure. Cord work often requires return and repetition, particularly for attachments that have been running at depth for a long time. But the direction has changed. The signal has been disrupted. You have made formal contact with the structure that was holding the loop in place, and that contact is real and irreversible. Your field knows where the work is now. The 72 hours ahead are quiet but active. Move through them gently. Do not demand immediate proof of change from yourself or your field. The next transmission in this protection sequence takes the work to the next layer, and this matters because once you have begun disrupting an active cord, what often becomes visible is something beneath it. A place where the field itself has developed a permeability that is not tied to one specific person, but to a longer pattern of accumulated exposure that was never directly addressed. The next transmission covers how to locate those areas before they become the source of the next drain cycle. For now, if you are on the end screen and there is a video about how unfinished relationships remain active in your field long after contact has ended, click it. Watch it now, while your field is still open and responsive from this work. That content is the most direct continuation of what was started in this transmission. Do not let this session close without that next layer. The field guided you here. Trust that movement. Let it guide you to what comes next.